Guys, and welcome to our Springbok Monday press conference. We've got assistant coach Deon Davids and Salman Murat with us today. So as usual, we'll take about 15 minutes of questions from online, and then we'll switch over to questions on the floor over here. And then obviously we'll send out the recording as usual. And then guys, also just to allow more people an opportunity to ask questions, please try to just limit your questions to one. And if we get a chance for further questions after that, we'll definitely come over to you for that. So without further ado, Nathan.
Thank you, Zina. Good day, gentlemen on the high table. Coach D, regarding the set piece, can you comment on this aspect, especially playing against a heavy French pack, then losing Peter Steph early, which might have affected both the lineouts and scrums? You'll probably take a lot of positives out that game coming into this week after the team review that you guys just have done.
Good morning, Nathan. Yes, I think it was quite a good contest, much as we expected it's going to be in terms of the scrums and the lineouts. And obviously, yeah, I think we got a bit disjointed in terms of when we lost Peter Steph early in the game. But I must commend the players in terms of how they reacted towards that, how well they've adapted towards that. We might put ourselves a bit under pressure at the start, but we've recovered well. And I think in terms of the rewards and the execution in terms from the lineouts and the scrums as the game continued, I think the guys really, I think, have done well under those circumstances.
Justin?
Thank you, Zina. Good afternoon from this side. Good morning, Salman, Coach Deon. Salman, this one for you. As players, we often say when winning, it's difficult to learn. 2 defeats in a row, despite all the positives, do you guys, that confidence is still up there and you do feel that you are learning, continuously learning during this process?
Hi, good afternoon, Justin. Yeah, I think not only did we learn, I think we got some good answers from those games. We obviously we had a plan, and I think the guys fulfilled that plan properly and to the best of their abilities. I think for majority of the game, we really did well. Maybe at certain areas we will look at where we can improve. But within saying that, I think it's like you said, losing is never nice. But I feel that when you lose, you learn a bit more. Those games could have gone either way.
Mike?
How's it, guys? Question for Deon. The Italians seem to be having a bit of a renaissance of late. Just your thoughts on how their rugby's going and the threat of their forwards. What do you make of Italy?
Mike, I think the Italians is a very good coach side. I mean, they've got some good systems in place. They come a long way with the head coach from Benetton and certain other coaches into the Italian side. They get good rewards in international rugby. They've beaten Wales away, which is not easy to do there. They've beaten Australia now, and they've also beaten us in 2016. Something that we have to take to heart. So you got to pitch up here with the right mindset and with the right attitude, because there's really an upward curve in terms of their performance, and we expect a very, very competitive game from them. As I said, they've got a good, tall, physical pack of forwards that are going to challenge us in the lineouts. They're going to challenge us in the mauls. They're going to challenge us in the scrums, and those are things that we have to prepare for. Defensively, they're also very good, as you could see in the last game against Australia. So we will have to have good plans in place and play towards our strength in order to get good rewards.
Percy?
Thank you so much, Zina. Good afternoon, Coach Deon Davids. Good afternoon, Salman. Coach, Deon, ek het 'n bietjie laat aangesluit, so verskoon my as die vraag reeds gevra is. Coach, kan ek net vra as 'n rugby liefhebber aanvaar ek julle as bestuur het natuurlik die afgelope naweek se wedstryd bespreek, veral die kwessies rondom die kaart wat julle gekry het. Gaan julle teen Pieter Stef de Tooy se rooi kaart appeleer of gaan julle dalk vir versagting vra of gaan julle sy lot aanvaar? En net dan die tweede deel van my vraag is dan die kaarte, spreek dit enigstens iets oor die Springbokke se dissipline of is glo julle is nog steeds 'n baie gedissiplineerde? Dankie.
Must I answer that in English and Afrikaans now?
You can answer that.
Percy, ek dink daar's altyd 'n normale prosedure wat gevolg word as daar 'n geel of 'n rooi kaart uitgedeel word in die sin van dat wat met Pieter Stef gebeur het is sal die normale proses gevolg word. Natuurlik is ons jammer vir Pieter Stef dat hy in daardie rugby botsing 'n rooi kaart gekry het. Natuurlik die speler wat ek ken en omdat hy iemand is wat alles met oorgawe en oortuiging doen, dink ek dit was ooit sy intensie gewees om buite die reëls van die spel te gaan nie, maar ja, dit gebeur in rugby, en ons moet dit aanvaar en ons moet planne maak rondom dit. Natuurlik sal dit 'n bonus wees om Pieter Stef altyd in die span te hê, maar ja, ons berus ons by die prosedures en die proses wat voor lê in terme van dit.
Jan?
Thank you, Zina. Deon, sorry, just a follow-up on what you just said in Afrikaans. I understand that you have to follow the process. So red card automatically means there's a hearing. That's the regulations say. Do you guys know yet when Peter's hearing will be? And can you guys plan around that in terms of the Italian game?
Peter Stef hearing will be tomorrow. And obviously, if we have an answer tomorrow, we will do our plans according to that.
Nathan, you can go again.
Thank you again, Zina. My question is for Salman. Salman, obviously you've mentioned, obviously you haven't featured much, but you just spoke about confidence and answers. From all the analysis and feedback, do you feel the squad is on the right track, even though the results aren't there? If you're looking at stats, in the last 10 games, you guys won 5, which makes it 50% success rate.
Yeah, I think we're definitely on the right road. I think in rugby you tend to look at the results, but I think if we look at the process and the way we've performed and the way the pack went, the way the backline went, I think we can be relatively happy. Obviously, it's not, like I said earlier, it's not nice losing, and it's not good for any team to lose. But I mean, if you are happy with your processes and you know what the plan is, I think we are in a good place. Yeah, I think the next couple of weeks will be very tough. It will be very challenging, and I think we'll do the same thing. We'll focus on our processes, and hopefully we get the result.
Ross?
Thanks, Zina. How's it, guys? How's it, Deon? Obviously, coming up against Italy now after 2 losses, you guys sort of have to balance carefully, you know, making a few changes with also trying to get a win on in the tour now. I see with Salman there, you guys might be giving Eben a rest. But other than Pieter Stef and maybe Cheslin with his concussion, are there a few other changes that might be made? Or are you guys going to try to stick to sort of a similar team that you've gone with the last 2 weeks as you try to get that win?
Ross, yes, I think Salman alluded to that. I think in the past couple of games that we've played, we got a lot of answers in terms of things that we've looked at from a selection point of view, from a playing point of view, from an individual or player's point of view. And we will continue with that specific process. I mean, Salman sitting here next to me, I mean, that must give you an indication that he might be in the starting lineup, or he might be playing from the bench this coming weekend. And that is still part of our vision to answer certain questions in our build up towards the World Cup. We've got a big belief in terms of the squad that we have and the ability of the players. We've got a lot of respect for the Italians looking forward. Yes, we play every game to win, and losing that it's important for us to stay objective and positive in terms of where we are, but also blatantly open and specific to where we need to improve, and we will approach that game with this with that mindset, so in order to still seek for answers, but to work very hard to get a better rewards in the last 2 test matches.
Justin?
Apologies. Thank you, Zina. Coach, again, just to similar line of questioning towards Salman, the learnings for you guys as coaches, but at the same time having to lift that confidence in the team, naturally disappointed. I mean, very close encounters, close defeats. Sort of what are the messages that you guys are carrying to these players, post those defeats to keep them confident, keep them upbeat, and trusting in your processes?
I think the basic thing is that when you go into a specific game, obviously you have a plan in terms of how you want to approach the team, and you develop certain strategies according to that. So when you review, assess that, it will always go back to listen. Let's talk about the effort of the players. Can we fault the effort of the players? In the past 2 games against Ireland and especially against France, lost players early in the game, playing with 14 players for 65 minutes, I think you can't fault the effort of the players. So that's a big box in terms of that we can tick in terms of how our players respond and in playing against such tough teams, and how they work hard in order to execute their plans. And then obviously the second 2 things is we have systems in place for different things. So whenever there's a mistake, is to be realistic and open and looking at that and see where we can improve in terms of executing our roles, or where we can improve in terms of our skill execution. So giving the players that overall positive or overall picture, a realistic picture in terms of what actually went wrong in terms of our plan and in terms of execution. I think that creates the platform for us to understand in terms of where we are, and where we need to go, and I think that keeps us aligned in terms of what we want to achieve.
Percy, with your hand up again.
Yes, please, Zina. Apologies, Coach Davids. You didn't answer the second part of my question, so sorry to do this to you. Can I just ask you, is Pieter-Steph du Toit going to stay with you guys for the rest of the tour? And what is these 2 yellow cards? It's form part of rugby, but does it say anything about the Springboks' discipline?
Obviously, Pieter-Steph staying with us is dependent on the hearing tomorrow, and I think the director of rugby and head coach will make a decision according to that after tomorrow. And I think, as I said, Percy, if you look at the yellow and the red cards, I don't think there's anything wrong in terms of the discipline of the players. We've got quite an extensive process in preparing our players and coaching our players to understand the rules of the game. Those are things that we role play in our training session. Also working hard in terms of their skill execution in order not to find themselves in poor positions, whether it's breakdown, tackling, or ball carry, that might lead to situations where they get exposed to that. So yes, these things unfortunately happens in rugby. Obviously, as I said, we look at it each and every one quite clearly. We communicate. We try to communicate with referees off the field and on the field to get a better understanding in terms of how we see it and how they see it and how we can be better in that. And that is a continuous process that we follow. So I hope I answered that question.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you so much, Coach.
We'll switch the floor now over in Italy. So,
Deon, what are the performances of referees these days more under the microscope because of the top 10 teams that can beat each other on a certain day?
I think I don't want to actually elaborate on the performance of the referees. I think that is obviously the role of the referee manager in World Rugby to do that. But yes, we're playing. If you look at the scored difference in the different teams, of the top teams playing in the past couple of test matches where we were involved. It's tough test matches. There's a margin of 1 or 2 either win or losing test matches. So obviously, we understand that in those circumstances with the pressure on players and referees, there might be situations or decisions where we see something differently than they see something differently. And I think that will always be under spotlight in terms of right or wrong. But for us, looking at things, it's always trying to have an objective idea in terms of where do we lie, where do we lie in terms of our interpretation of what we see, and that is, as I said, which we always try to or we work very hard to communicate off field and on field with referees prior to games, after games, during the week, getting referees in to give us certain explanations in terms of executions or certain situations where we might have been at fault, in order to develop our growth in those specific areas. And I think that is it has been our approach from the start, and I think that will be continue our approach from the start. Not to criticize, but in order to get a better understanding.
Is there enough honesty in that process, and can one improve that process, and how can one improve it?
That's a very difficult question. I think from our side, we try to be transparent and as open and honest in terms of how we see things and interpret things, and we go with that clarity into a game. Obviously, in games, at times we get rewarded, at times we don't get rewarded. Obviously, at times maybe we maybe don't get rewarded the way we saw it, the way we understand it, and that at the end of the day might lead to a discussion after the games in terms of where we can improve or how did the referee see it. And I think, in my understanding, I think that might always be there, and that is just something that we have to continue trying to improve in order to get a better product on the field. When we play.
How does that affect preparation? Because it's clear now that you have to prepare for the game and the opposition, but you also have to prepare for the referee and their particular interpretations.
No, it's something that you will have to balance, because at the end of the day, we don't want to confuse our players in terms of their approach. I mean, if there's confusion or there is doubt, obviously there's no clarity, and it takes a bit of confidence away. So for us, it's important that in order for us to do our job on the coaching field, or to make it to do a team selection in terms of who's in and out, it's going to be important that you give a clear message in understanding to the player in terms of who's wrong or who's right. And if you have that, as I said again, that clarity, it makes team selection better, it makes coaching better, and we can deliver a better performance on field.
And as players, Salman, how do you deal with it? Because at your level, you get different referees each week, and when you play in Europe, you get a different set of referee. In South Africa, you get a different set of referees. So as players at your test level, how do you deal with it from a match prep and a mental prep perspective?
I think what the coaches really do well is they prep us on the ref that we have for that particular weekend. So I think so we get a fair amount of background on them. We know what they, we know what makes them tick. We know what they're a bit more strict on. So I think that helps us a lot. But us as players, I think we just have to adapt on the run. I think some days the refs see a certain action in a certain angle, where we see it in a different angle. I think we're always going to have our differences, I think, but it's about how we adapt during that game.
Deon, Chisholm seems to go under the radar with the also looking for
Sorry?
Chisholm has seemingly gone under the radar after coming off from that DuPont challenge. How is he looking for this game?
Our response from the medical staff is there's good progress in terms of his recovery, and there's a good chance that he might be ready for this game.
Beyond that, the test rugby now reached a point where we need 2 referees on the field, or do you think the touch judges must just be more alert and make bigger contributions to get things better right on the day. Because to me, it seems like, it's always too late to, afterwards, and they must do it, during the game. Or how do you see things?
I think I think the way I understand it, that the referees and touch judges and the TMO approach the game is that they work as a team. And I think that collective working as a team is very important at this level. I mean, as someone also said that on field you look at different angles to different situations, and sometimes the referee is in a poor situation for a pass, for a tackle, or infringement at the breakdown, but the AR might be in a better position looking at that, or the TMO with his over bird's eye view on stuff might have a better view on that. And I think to get to conclusions that might affect the outcome of the game, okay, which affects individuals' life, coaches' careers, players' careers, and everything that's involved in that. I think it's utterly important that they work as a team very well in order to assist calls on the field that might affect the outcome.
Did you guys get clarity on that last French try? Why didn't they show it on the big screen?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we couldn't get a playback on that that try at that specific moment at the game, which I thought was quite crucial in terms of the outcome. But obviously, I think that process of discussing it and getting clarity with that, this is day one, is an ongoing process. But as you said now, it's something that we all have to accept. It happens. It happened, and yeah, we will stay positive and move on.
Speel 2 keer in daai stadion voor. Wanneer het soortgelyk is. Dit is 'n World Cup semi-final waar dit is. Kan julle dit met wêreldrugby opneem?
Hendrik, is 'n fantastiese stadion, is 'n wêreldklas stadion, is in my opinie van al die stadions wat ek gesien het, is en ervaar het, is ek dink dit is een van die beste stadions, en as met so 'n kwaliteit omgewing, kwaliteitsstadion, verwag jy dat tegniese hulp vir daarmee gepaard van op daai standaard gelewer sal word. En ek dink ek vertrou dat dit deel van wêreldrugby se proses sal wees om te sorg dat by die stadions wat ons gaan speel, dat ons op standaard sal wees in terme van uitvoering van.
En Stefus uitwys. Dit nou 2 seisoene oor Ramos gaan World Rugby om uitwys, kan julle hom uitwys?
Jy sê eintlik so ek sê
Dis moeilik.
Is moeilik. Ek dink ons het dit bespreek. En aan die einde van die dag dink ek sal ons hoofafrigter seker 'n bietjie meer terugvoering gee.
Just the rolling balls. They worked and didn't work. What didn't work? There was 3 rolling balls where should have scored penalties again with no yellow cards, but also the rolling balls were a source of point scoring momentum for those and they proved that that's
It's actually more than that. So in close to the try line, obviously we got a reward from a try, but then also we've got I think two or three penalty advantages, which I felt we could have get better reward in terms of that. So we quite happy is not the right word, but I mean we quite satisfied looking at that in terms of the rewards that we got close to the try line in terms of that. Obviously we want to score from every maul, but because it's such a dynamic and a strong contested area, it's sometimes difficult. But looking back at the game, I think under the circumstances, looking Stef du Toit and being restricted to 5-man lineouts and stuff, I think the guys really adapted well and executed that well. And then also upfield, I mean, I think we've got some good rewards also. Penalty advantages on those mauls, which allowed us to play or to get territory advantage. But yeah, as a Springbok pack, I said we still working very hard in terms of ensuring that we get better in every department, and that will continue to be an area that we will work on very hard.
Someone who's focused to understand Italy's test side, because you have played against Zagreb, played against Benetton regularly in your seat, that will give you a far different picture of the Italian team and the fact that they go into this game on the back of 3 consecutive wins.
Yeah, I think Italy is definitely a quality side. If you look at Zebra, they said in the URC, were a much improved outfit. I think they played the top 3 teams in the URC in the opening rounds, and I think they lost by like 3 to 6 points. And then Benetton, I think they've always been a quality side. A few years back, they played the Bulls in that Rainbow final, and they showed their quality there. And the Italian side, will be a well-coached team, well-drilled. Set piece, they'll be really good. They'll be really good at the scrums. So we're gonna have to match that and definitely bring our A game. And at the end of the day, they're a passionate country, and in saying that, I think they will definitely be up for it.
Deon, how key is it to get a positive result? Italy are playing well. They've played well in the past 2 tests without getting a result. And that is something that the South African rugby public don't always look at the positives of a game. They just read on the result and say that South African Springboks have lost, therefore they're not playing. How important is it to balance getting a result, a positive one at that, but also ensuring that the developmental steps that you guys are clearly after are also being fulfilled?
No, definitely. Listen, we play to win every test match. I don't think there's a Springbok team that ever went onto a field not to win a test match. And if you look at the effort of our players in the past 2 test matches, losing by small margins, there was always their drive to get a good result. And obviously, you're disappointed in terms of that. But yeah, our approach for this coming test match and the one against England will be exactly the same. No matter who wears the Springbok jersey. I think if you get into the team, it's well deserved. There's qualities in the team. I think we work as hard as possible in terms of our approach together with all the other games to ensure that we get a good result. And yes, we will go into this game and again approach it to win the game.
Jonas, dis waarskynlik die moeilikste ene, maar baie afrigters is frustreerd omdat die toetsrugby so naby mekaar is en die spanne so naby mekaar en eintlik die top 10 kan wen. Baie afrigters is frustreerd oor die skeieregtersbeslissings. Baie afrigters kry dalk joernaliste om hulle saak te bedryf, nie eerlik daaroor nie, weet of hulle agenda bietjie te stuur in die media. Die Springbokke is meer eerlik daaroor. Hulle sê wat is fout en wat die stand van skeieregters is. Word Springbokke dalk bietjie onnodig gebrand omdat die Springbokke meer eerlik is oor skeieregtersbeslissings. Daar's baie mense daar buite wat wil hê die span moet dan meer eerlike proses teenoor die teners wees met skeieregters.
Hendrik, is moeilik om namens ander spanne te praat en goed te ek bedoel jy het nie daai agtergrond of daai insig nie. Ek dink net ons intensie nooit is om so ek sê ons het 'n baie oop en deursigtige proses wat ons volg, wat bekend is aan die media, aan die bekend is aan die span in terme van hoe ons dinge benader. En ek dink dit is belangrik dat 'n mens dat 'n mens nie dinge aanvaar nie. Verstaan dat jy as jy sterk voel of goed of jy dink dit kan 'n positiewe bydrae daar tot die uitlewering van 'n beter produk en as jy jou span wil verbeter. Ek dink dit is die regte dit is 'n proses waaroor jy moet kan gesels en dit is 'n proses waarop jy moet kan debatteer in terme van om iets beter te kry. En ek dink dit is ek dink nie daar is enige intensies met een slegte intensies met enigiets nie. Ek dink net dit is basies om te sorg dat ons beter raak en dat ons die produk wat ons op die veld liewer beter kry.
Die Springbokke is eintlik bereid om behoue te vat.